Nobody ever taught you how to stay calm. They taught you to endure, to move fast, to respond to everything, to live with your mind racing and your body tense. And over time, that constant state of alert started to feel normal. You wake up exhausted, you go to bed restless, and even if you can't always explain why, you feel like something inside you never fully relaxes. Anxiety doesn't show up out of nowhere. It appears when you've been stuck in survival mode for too long. And calm doesn't arrive when everything outside gets fixed. It comes when you learn to master what's going on inside. That's exactly what the Stoics understood centuries ago. In this video, I'm going to share 12 Stoic lessons to eliminate anxiety, and more importantly, to help you stay calm, even on the hard days. These aren't feel-good quotes or abstract theories. They're ways of thinking that help you stop reacting to everything, regain control, and build inner stability. Because real peace doesn't depend on whether the world calms down. It depends on whether you do. Stick around, because today it's not about running from anxiety. It's about learning how to stand firm and think clearly. Let me ask you something before we begin. How many times a day do you feel tense without knowing exactly why? Because your mind won't stop. Because everything demands your attention. Because you never fully switch off. If that sounds familiar, this space is also for you. Subscribe to keep practicing a way of life with more calm and less noise. And tell me in the comments, what's been stealing your peace lately? Breathe. Get comfortable. Because what's coming next isn't theory, it's mental training. Let's dive in. Lesson 1. Your breath is your anchor. When everything falls apart. Picture this, you're lying in bed. It's 3 in the morning, you can't sleep. Your mind keeps replaying conversations, to-do lists, past mistakes, future scenarios that probably won't even happen. Your chest feels tight, like there's a weight pressing down on it. You try to relax, but the harder you try, the stronger the anxiety pushes back. And then comes that awful feeling of being trapped in your own head, with no way out, no off switch for the noise. That's how anxiety works. It doesn't show up with a warning. It doesn't wait until you're ready. It grabs you when you least expect it and drags you like a leaf in the middle of a storm. And the worst part isn't what's happening outside. It's what's happening inside. That mental chaos where every thought feeds the next, where everything feels urgent, where you can't stop for even a second because it feels like everything will collapse if you do. But let me tell you something you may have never heard clearly. There's a tool you carry with you at all times. It costs nothing. It doesn't require apps or complex therapy. And it can give you back control when you feel like you've lost it completely. Your breath. Yes, I know what you're thinking. It sounds too simple. It sounds like one of those generic tips people give when you're struggling that don't seem to help at all. But hear me out. Because this isn't about breathing just to breathe. This is about using your breath as the first step to eliminate anxiety and stay calm, even when everything in you wants to explode. When Epictetus walked the streets of Nicopolis, he hadn't always been a free man. He had spent years as a slave, years enduring humiliation, conflicting orders, situations where he had no say, no power. And yet, even in those conditions, he discovered something no one could take from him: his ability to choose how to respond. One random afternoon, in the middle of the market, a merchant bumped into him and spilled a jug of water all over him. Another man, seeing him soaked and muddy, laughed and yelled something demeaning. Epictetus could have snapped. He could have yelled back, defended himself, let his anger take over. But he didn't. He paused. He breathed. He watched his own mind reacting. And in that pause, he chose not to respond from impulse. He chose to protect his inner calm. That pause he gave himself is exactly what you need when anxiety has you up against the wall. Because anxiety isn't just some abstract mental issue. It's deeply physical. Your body goes into survival mode. The sympathetic nervous system kicks in. Cortisol floods your bloodstream. Your breathing becomes shallow, fast, tight. And with every breath like that, you're sending a clear message to your brain. I'm in danger, I need to run or fight. And your brain, trying to help, responds by producing more anxious thoughts, more worst-case scenarios, more reasons to feel afraid. This is where James Nestor's years of research into the science of breathing come in. Changing how you breathe isn't just a relaxation trick. It's changing your body's chemistry. It's reprogramming your nervous system. It's telling your brain we're not in danger. You can let your guard down. When you breathe deeply, slowly, intentionally, you activate the vagus nerve. That nerve is like a switch. It shuts down panic mode and turns on calm mode. It slows your heart rate. It relaxes your muscles. It clears your mind. And suddenly, those thoughts that felt like absolute truth begin to lose their grip. Now think about this. You're in a work meeting. Your boss just criticized something you did in front of everyone. You feel the heat rise up your neck. Your heart's racing. Your mind takes off. I'm getting fired. Everyone thinks I'm useless. I have to defend myself right now. Your mouth opens, ready to fire back, to justify, to attack. But right before the words come out, you remember this. You remember you have a choice. So you close your mouth. You inhale deeply through your nose. Hold it for a few seconds. Exhale slowly through your mouth. And do it 2 more times. And what happens in those 10 seconds? Your body lets its guard down. Your mind stops treating the situation like a life or death threat. And what you were about to say in anger, you now say with clarity, not because you're weak, not because you swallowed your pride, but because you chose to respond from a steadier, more grounded place. That's what it means to keep calm when everything pushes you to lose it. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself every night, reflecting on the day's events. And there's one thing he repeated often in his meditations, that he could control his judgments, but not the external facts. Breathing well is exactly that. It's your way of taking charge of the one thing that's truly in your hands, your internal response. Because when the breath settles, the mind follows. And when the mind calms down, your body stops waging war against itself. Now here comes the practical part, my friend. If you really want to use your breath to eliminate anxiety, it's not enough to take one deep breath when you're already overwhelmed. You have to train it. You have to make it a habit before the storm arrives. It's like building a muscle. You don't wait for the attack to learn how to defend yourself. You train before. And breathing is the same. So start by observing how you breathe when you're not anxious. Spend 2 minutes a day, in the morning or before bed, simply noticing your breath. Is it fast or slow, shallow or deep? Do you breathe through your nose or your mouth? Don't judge. Don't change anything. Just observe, because if you don't know how you breathe normally, you won't notice when anxiety starts to hijack it. And when you do feel anxiety rising, don't try to fix everything all at once. Don't say, I have to calm down right now. That only adds pressure. Instead, give yourself permission to take a 10-second pause. Just 10. Inhale through your nose for a count of 4. Hold it for 4. Exhale through your mouth for 6. Repeat that 3 times. That's it. It's not complicated, but it works because you're telling your body, I'm here, I'm present, I'm not running. And don't forget to use your breath as an anchor throughout the day. When you're stuck in traffic, when you're waiting in line, when someone says something that starts to irritate you. Instead of reacting automatically, take 3 intentional breaths. Not to avoid the situation, not to pretend it doesn't affect you, but to choose how you'll respond to it. Seneca wrote something about this a long time ago. No wind is favorable for the one who doesn't know where they're going. Breathing well won't solve all your problems. It won't make life easier, but it will give you clarity. It will put your hands back on the wheel. It will remind you that even if you can't control the storm, you can control how you hold yourself through it. And that's the difference between someone who's overwhelmed by anxiety and someone who's learned to stay calm. It's not that one has fewer problems. It's that one has trained their breath not to get swept away, not to react from fear, not to turn every difficult moment into an internal disaster. So now reflect. What if the bravest thing you could do isn't reacting fast, but staying silent for 3 seconds longer? Sometimes, breathing well isn't just about calming down. It's how you return to yourself. It's how you take control. It's how you start to reclaim your inner freedom. And when anxiety tightens its grip, when it feels like everything's falling apart, when you're about to lose control, that changes absolutely everything. Lesson 2. Empty your mind before it overflows. There's something Marcus Aurelius repeated constantly in his meditations. The mind should be like water, still when it's not disturbed, clear when nothing clouds it. But if you don't clean it, if you don't empty it, it stagnates. And stagnant water is good for nothing. Your mind is no different. If you don't empty it regularly, it fills with stale thoughts, old grudges, imaginary fears that no longer have any reason to be there. You've probably experienced this yourself. You wake up, you grab your phone, you check your messages. Someone wrote something you didn't like. You get up with that thought already spinning in your head. You eat breakfast thinking about what you should have replied. You shower replaying a conversation that's never going to happen, and without even realizing it, it's 10 in the morning and your head is already full of things that haven't even happened. Now add everything that has happened. What you have to do today, what you left unfinished yesterday, what you should have done last week, what someone said months ago that still bothers you. And suddenly you realize something. Your mind isn't an empty space waiting to be filled. It's a cluttered storeroom where everything is piled on top of everything else, with no order, no system, no way out. And you keep throwing more things in there, hoping it will all somehow sort itself out. It won't. And if you don't start clearing some of it out, all you'll get is more pressure, more noise, more anxiety every single day. Because your mind isn't designed to be an endless archive of unprocessed thoughts. It's designed to think, to resolve, to decide. But when you overload it, it shuts down. And that's when that overwhelming feeling shows up, without you even knowing exactly why. Seneca experienced this firsthand, not from theory, but from the brutal reality of living close to Roman imperial power, where one day you were advising the emperor, and the next, you could be exiled or executed. He was surrounded by intrigue, threats, betrayal, decisions that could cost him his life. And in the middle of all that chaos, he found one thing that helped him stay sane: writing. Every night before going to bed, he wrote. Not to publish, not to teach. He wrote to understand himself, to unload what weighed on his mind, to give shape to the invisible. Because when you write it out, you don't have to carry it inside anymore. Picture this. It's Friday night. You get home after a long, intense week. You're exhausted. You collapse onto the couch thinking you're finally going to relax. But the moment you stop moving, your mind kicks in. I need to call my mom. Did I reply properly to that email? What if that comment I made in the meeting sounded wrong? I really should start working out. Why didn't I save more this month? Thought after thought until the rest you were craving turns into another round of anxiety. What if there were a way to stop that spiral? What if you could take all that mental noise and pull it out before it traps you? Well, there is, my friend. It's called writing. But not beautiful writing. Not writing for anyone else to read. Writing to unload, to let go of what weighs you down, to stop carrying all of it by yourself. Oprah Winfrey has been writing every morning for over 40 years. Not because she's a writer, not because she needs content for her shows. She does it because her mind needs to empty out before the day begins. And if someone with her level of success and responsibility needs to write to stay grounded, what makes you think you can handle everything in your head without help? Did you know that writing is one of the most effective tools? You don't need a fancy journal. You don't need to write 3 pages every day. You don't need it to be perfect or even make sense. What you need is a notebook and 5 minutes before bed. And then you write. Whatever's on your mind, what's bothering you, what you're afraid of, what you wouldn't dare say out loud. No filter, no editing, no judgment. You can write, I felt weird today after what my coworker said. Or, I'm scared this won't work out and everything will fall apart. Or even, I'm tired of pretending I'm okay when I'm not. And once it's written, something shifts. Because now it's not just a thought spinning around. It's something concrete, something you can see. And once you can see it, it doesn't control you the same way. Writing about your problems isn't just venting. It's naming what's been eating you alive. It's bringing structure to the chaos. It's turning emotion into language. And when you do that, your brain can actually begin to process it. Because your brain can't solve what it doesn't understand, and it can't understand what never leaves your head. But if you're not sure how to start, use guiding questions. Before going to bed, open your notebook and write, "What took away my peace today?" And answer without overthinking. Another great one is, "What do I need to let go of so I can rest?" Or even, "What am I afraid of but don't want to admit?" And just write the answer. Doesn't matter if it's long or short. Doesn't matter if it makes perfect sense. What matters is that it comes out. And here's something crucial. Don't edit it. Don't reread it like you're your own critic. Don't analyze it. Don't judge it. Just write it, then close the notebook. The point isn't to polish. It's to release, to take out the mental garbage. Because sometimes all it takes to calm your anxiety is to stop carrying everything in silence. Remember this: to write is to name, and to name is to master. When you write what you feel, you take away its power. When you give form to what's haunting you, it stops being that invisible monster chasing you around. It becomes something manageable, something you can look in the eye, something you can start to work through. And it's no coincidence that many people who've learned to stay calm in the middle of total chaos have the habit of writing. Not because they're special, not because they have some superior mental strength, but because they've understood something essential. Your mind needs space to function properly, and that space only comes from emptying it regularly. Epictetus spoke about this too, though not in these words. He said we must examine our impressions before accepting them. And writing is exactly that. It's taking that blurry impression, that nagging thought, that worry that won't let you sleep, and examining it on paper. And many times, once you write it down, you realize it wasn't as bad as it seemed, or that there's a solution, or simply that it doesn't need to take up so much room in your head anymore. So tell me, have you ever tried it? Do you write out your thoughts, or do you let them spin in your head until they overflow? Because eliminating anxiety isn't always about breathing or meditating. Sometimes it's as simple as picking up a pen and letting go of everything you've been carrying in silence. And that, believe me, could be the first real step toward the calm you've been searching for. Lesson 3. Train your mind for when everything falls apart. Life doesn't give you a heads up. It doesn't knock on your door and ask if it's a good time. It doesn't wait for you to be ready before throwing something your way. It just shows up. A message, a call, news you weren't expecting, a sudden twist that flips everything. And in a matter of seconds, what felt stable falls apart. The plan you had no longer works. The calm you felt disappears. And there you are, heart racing, mind spinning, trying to make sense of what just happened while your body shifts into survival mode, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. Here's the problem. Anxiety often doesn't come from the problem itself. It comes from the shock of not being prepared, because the unexpected doesn't just hurt. It throws you off. It knocks you out of alignment. It pulls the ground out from under you. And if you haven't trained your mind for moments like that, if you haven't built a solid foundation before the impact, it's easy to get swept away, to freeze, to react from panic instead of clarity. And no, I'm not talking about becoming cold or numb. I'm not talking about shutting down emotionally until nothing affects you. I'm talking about something far more practical and far more necessary, preparing your mind so that when the unexpected hits, it doesn't find you defenseless. Because eliminating anxiety isn't about avoiding bad things. It's about knowing how to stay standing when they show up. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire that was falling apart. Wars at the borders, plagues killing thousands, betrayal within his own inner circle, impossible decisions every single day. And yet he wrote something in his meditations that reveals how he managed to stay calm in the middle of all that chaos. He wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. But he also wrote something else. Today I shall meet with busybodies, the ungrateful, the arrogant, deceitful, envious, and selfish. And he didn't say it with bitterness. He said it with preparation. Because he knew that if he mentally rehearsed the worst ahead of time, it wouldn't catch him off guard when it came. That was how he trained his mind. He didn't wait to be in the middle of the problem to figure out how to handle it. He did it before, every morning, every night. He mentally ran through the hard scenarios, not to torture himself, but to show up ready, so that his mind wouldn't react from fear when things got tough, but from deliberate response. And this isn't just for Roman emperors. Julio de la Iglesia understands this better than most. Before he started speaking about emotions in talks and online, Julio was a bomb disposal expert. His job was to walk toward what everyone else avoided, to move straight into danger while others ran away. And even though he wore a protective suit, his most powerful tool wasn't physical armor, it was his mind. Before every mission, he paused. He breathed. He asked himself what could go wrong. And in his mind, he rehearsed the chaos. He imagined the wrong wires, the trap mechanisms, the equipment failures. He did it because he knew that if something failed in real life, his body couldn't respond with fear. It had to respond with action. And the only way to make that happen was to have already run through it mentally beforehand, so that when it came, his mind recognized the situation and knew exactly what to do. You don't need to face explosives to apply this. We all have situations that shake us. An uncomfortable meeting with your boss, an unexpected expense that ruins your budget, a medical appointment that worries you, a hard conversation you've been avoiding for weeks. And the difference between going through those moments with anxiety or with calm doesn't lie in making them go away. It lies in how you show up. If you arrive blindsided, your body reacts from fear. But if you've already rehearsed the situation in your mind, if you've already thought about what you'd do, your mind has room to respond. Epictetus taught this constantly to his students. He told them not to wait for the storm to learn how to sail, to train in calm so they'd be ready in chaos. Because when anxiety hits, when you're in the middle of the problem, that's not the time to start thinking. That's the time to use what you've already prepared. And here's something that might surprise you. Training your mind for the unexpected doesn't mean living in constant fear. It doesn't mean spending your day imagining disasters. It doesn't mean becoming a pessimist who only sees the worst. It means the opposite. It means taking power away from fear. Because once you've thought through the worst-case scenario and decided how you'd respond, it stops being this invisible threat. It becomes something you can manage. So how do you do this practically without becoming obsessive? First, every night before bed, spend 2 minutes mentally reviewing your next day. Not to plan every detail, but to spot possible friction points. That meeting that might get tense. That message you have to send and you're unsure how it'll be received. That project that might go sideways. And then ask yourself 2 questions. What's the worst that could happen? And what would I do if it did? Just thinking through those answers brings calm, because you realize something powerful. Even if things go wrong, you can handle it. You're no longer trapped in the panic of the unknown. You're in control of your response. And that, my friend, changes everything. Because anxiety feeds on uncertainty, on not knowing what you'll do if what you fear actually happens. But when you've already thought it through, even just a rough plan B, the anxiety loses its grip. You can also practice mental flexibility. Don't marry yourself to one perfect plan. Always keep 2 or 3 alternatives in mind. You may not need them, but knowing you have options, knowing you don't rely on everything going exactly as planned, gives you breathing room. And that breathing room is freedom. It's the difference between breaking when things go wrong and adapting without losing your center. Seneca wrote something that fits perfectly here. He said we should rehearse poverty, even if we're wealthy. That we should spend days eating the bare minimum, wearing simple clothes, sleeping on the floor. Not out of self-punishment, but to remind your mind that you can survive much more than you think. That if the worst comes, it won't destroy you. Because you've already been there mentally. You already know you can get through it. And this applies to everything. If you're afraid of losing your job, ask yourself, what would I do if I got fired tomorrow? What resources do I have? Who could I reach out to? What's my first move? Not to scare yourself, but to take power away from the fear. Because once you've thought it through, once you know you have options, even if they're not perfect, that fear loses its ability to paralyze you. If you're afraid a meaningful relationship might fall apart, ask yourself, what would I do if that happened? How would I hold myself together? What would I need? Where could I go for support? Again, not because you believe it will happen, but to remind yourself that if it does, you'll still be standing. And that certainty, that trust in your own ability to respond, is what allows you to stay calm even when everything else is collapsing. Marcus Aurelius had a phrase for this. Don't ask what could happen, ask how you'll respond when it does. Because what happens is outside your control, but how you respond is always in your hands. And if you train for that response before the moment arrives, when it does, your mind already knows what to do. Now, my friend, there's something else you need to understand. Training your mind for the unexpected doesn't make you invincible. You'll still feel fear. You'll still feel anxiety when things get messy. But the difference is, they won't paralyze you. Because your mind has already been there. It's already rehearsed. It's already chosen how to act. And that gives you something most people don't have. Reaction time. Clarity in chaos. Calm in the middle of the storm. The Stoics were like mental firefighters. They didn't wait for the blaze to figure out where the hose was. They already had it ready. They had already trained to use it. They knew where the exits were. So when the fire came, they didn't waste time panicking. They acted. And you can do the same. Because this isn't about living in fear of disaster. It's about knowing that if it comes, you'll already be standing, already prepared, already sure that you can face it. And that, when anxiety hits, when it feels like everything's spinning out of control, that's exactly what you need to keep going, to stay steady, to move forward. Lesson 4. Protect your morning like your life depends on it. Have you noticed how the way you start your morning sets the tone for the rest of your day? If you begin in reactive mode, your nervous system goes into high alert. Your body thinks there's danger. Your mind prepares to survive, not to live. And then you spend the next 14 hours putting out fires that weren't even yours to begin with, trying to meet expectations you never chose, trying to stay calm when you never gave yourself the chance to build that calm in the first place. The alarm goes off. You haven't even fully opened your eyes, and your hand's already reaching for your nightstand. You grab your phone, unlock it, and you're off. 3 WhatsApp notifications, 2 work emails, a message from someone who needs something from you, a piece of alarming news on your screen, a reminder about something you forgot to do yesterday. And just like that, within 2 minutes of waking up, your mind is already in combat mode. The day hasn't even started, and you're already dodging problems, worries, demands. You haven't washed your face. You haven't had a sip of water. You haven't taken a single calm breath. But you're already responding to the world's demands, already reacting to what others need from you, already knee-deep in chaos before you've had a moment to decide how you want to live your day. And then you wonder why you end the day exhausted, why you never seem to rest, why anxiety is with you from the moment you open your eyes to the second you close them. Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire. He faced more problems in a single day than you or I will in a lifetime. Wars, betrayals, plagues, natural disasters, decisions affecting millions of lives. And still, every morning before doing anything, he took time for himself. He wrote, he reflected, he mentally prepared for what was coming. In one of those reflections, he wrote something that's still true 2,000 years later. Each morning, remind yourself, today I will meet with ingratitude, betrayal, arrogance. And no, that didn't discourage him. It strengthened him. It reminded him that he couldn't control the world, but he could control how he responded to it. That's the key. When you decide how you want to live your day before the world decides for you, anxiety loses its power. Because it no longer catches you off guard. You're no longer reacting from fear. You're no longer living at the mercy of whatever comes your way. You've chosen peace first. And from there, everything else becomes more manageable. Now think about this. How many times have you woken up already anxious? How many times have you started the day with that nagging feeling of being late, even if you weren't? How many times have you felt overwhelmed before even getting out of bed? That's not a coincidence. It's a direct result of how you handle your first few hours. Because if the first thing you do is open the door to external noise, your mind doesn't have a chance to center itself. It has no space to find balance. No opportunity to build calm. J. Alderton, a former British soldier who worked in high-risk operations, talks about something he calls the golden hour. According to him, the first 60 minutes of your day shape your nervous system for everything that follows. If you start in reaction, your body shifts into defense mode, high cortisol, tense muscles, scattered thoughts. But if you start with intention, you gain a massive advantage: focus, patience, mental strength. And the best part? You don't need a 2-hour morning routine, just 5 minutes, truly yours. Picture it for a moment. A morning without rushing, without the pressure of chasing the clock, without that tight urgency gripping your chest the second you wake up. You feel a calm rising from the inside, like your mind actually slept for the first time in weeks. There's no mental noise, just you with yourself. You breathe slowly, you feel your body aligning with the day. You jot down what you need, and it's like every word you write releases a thought you no longer have to carry. You're filled with a deep calm, that clarity you thought you could only find on vacation. But you don't need a vacation. You don't need to retreat to a monastery. You don't need perfect conditions. You just need to protect your morning like your life depends on it. Because in a way, it does. Your peace of mind depends on it. Your ability to stay calm depends on it. Your capacity to not live constantly anxious depends on how you choose to start your day. Epictetus taught something fundamental. He said you must prepare your mind before difficulties arrive, not when you're already in the middle of them. Before. Because if you wait until you're overwhelmed to look for calm, it's too late. Your morning is that preparation. It's your chance to build the inner ground you'll stand on when the world starts to shake. So, if you want to start eliminating anxiety at its root, if you want to stay calm even when the day gets rough, you need to change how you begin. And no, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do everything right. You just have to start. Don't touch your phone for the first 20 minutes. No social media, no emails, no messages. Your mind needs to land before the noise gets in. It needs to remember who you are before you start becoming what others need you to be. And yes, at first it'll be uncomfortable. You'll be curious. It'll feel like you're missing something important, but you're not missing anything. You're gaining something far more valuable, your own clarity. Then ask yourself, what do I need today to feel at peace? Write it down, think it, say it out loud, but make it real. It can be something as simple as, I need to not overload myself today. Or, I need to let myself feel without judging. Or, I need to remember that not everything depends on me. Whatever it is, name it. Because if you don't know what you need, you'll spend the day chasing things that won't bring you calm. And choose one symbolic act, something small that sets your intention for the day. It could be a slow stretch, looking out the window while drinking water, writing down 3 things you're grateful for, or simply sitting still for 2 minutes. That gesture, however simple it seems, is like turning on a light inside you before you open the door to the world. It tells your mind, today I'm not starting from chaos, I'm starting from here. Seneca lived surrounded by luxury, but also by constant danger. He knew any day could be his last. And still, every morning, he took time to reflect, to prepare, to remind himself what was in his control and what wasn't. And that habit wasn't indulgent. It was how he stayed sane in a world he couldn't control. You're in the same situation. You can't control what's going to happen today. You can't control what people will say. You can't control the problems that will show up. But you can control how you prepare to face them. And that preparation starts in your morning. It starts in those first minutes where you decide if you're going to react or respond, if you're going to live from fear or from calm, if you're going to be dragged by the day or walk through it with intention. And let me tell you one more thing. This isn't selfish. It's not a waste of time. It's not a luxury you can't afford. It's the opposite. It's the most important investment you can make. Because if you're not well, nothing you do will go well. If you start your day anxious, you'll carry that anxiety into everything you touch. But if you begin from calm, that calm will ripple out into your decisions, your relationships, your way of facing problems. So next time the alarm goes off, my friend, resist the urge to grab your phone. Resist the urge to start reacting. Give yourself those 5, 10, 20 minutes just for you, to center yourself. To remember that staying calm isn't an accident. It's a decision you make every morning. And that decision, repeated day after day, is what changes everything. Because in the end, what if real productivity doesn't start by crossing things off a list, but by choosing the energy with which you're going to live them? Protect your morning. Put your peace front and center, not as a luxury, but as your starting point. Lesson 5. Name what you feel before it consumes you. Imagine this. You've been feeling off all week. Nothing specific has happened. No big fight, no bad news. But there's something there, lingering. A strange weight in your chest that won't go away. You wake up and it's there. You shower and it stays. You eat and it lingers. It's like carrying a stone in your stomach you can't shake off. And the worst part is, you don't know what it is. You can't point to it. You can't explain it. You just know something's not right, so you do what most of us do. You ignore it. You tell yourself it's nothing, that it'll pass, that you don't have time to be dramatic. So you grab your phone, open Instagram, watch a few videos, laugh at a meme. You pretend everything's fine. But your body knows the truth. Your hands are cold, your jaw is clenched, your shoulders are tense. And while you're scrolling like nothing's wrong, that feeling keeps growing inside you. Like a wave you refuse to look at, but that's going to crash over you anyway. Here's the problem. Anxiety often doesn't show up because something external is attacking us. It shows up because we've spent too long ignoring how we feel. And then the body starts screaming what the mind doesn't want to see. Your system isn't stupid. It knows when you're pretending. It knows when you're suppressing. And if you don't listen, it'll find another way to get your attention. Sometimes it's a knot in your stomach. Sometimes it's insomnia. Sometimes it's anxiety you can't trace, but that paralyzes you just the same. Susan David, a Harvard psychologist and author of Emotional Agility, puts it perfectly. She says, uncomfortable emotions aren't enemies. They're messengers. They're not here to bother you. They're here to show you something you need to face. But of course, no one taught us that. We were trained to ignore them, to push through, to keep going like nothing's wrong. We were told that feeling is weakness, that we have to be strong, that we have to hold it all together. And there you are, holding on, until one day you just can't anymore. Epictetus lived through situations where he had no control over anything. He was a slave. He didn't choose his schedule. He didn't choose his tasks. He couldn't change his conditions. And yet, in the middle of that lack of external freedom, he discovered a kind of internal freedom that was unshakable, because he realized something fundamental. He couldn't control what happened to him, but he could control how he interpreted it. And part of that meant not judging his emotions as enemies. The problem was never feeling anger, sadness, or fear. The problem was believing that feeling those things made him less. The problem was fighting his emotions instead of observing them. And that's exactly what you need to learn if you want to eliminate anxiety and stay calm. It's not about not feeling. It's about stopping the war with what you feel. Because when you deny an emotion, it doesn't disappear, it just hides. It stays there, buried, waiting. And each time you ignore it, it grows stronger. Until one day, it explodes. And that's when you lose control. Now picture this. You're at dinner with friends. Everyone's laughing, chatting, having fun. You're laughing too. You're joining in, making jokes. But inside, something doesn't feel right. a kind of quiet sadness, a feeling that you're not really there, like you're watching yourself from the outside. And instead of stopping and asking yourself what's going on, you keep pretending, you keep laughing, you keep the mask on, because admitting you're not okay feels too complicated, too vulnerable, too uncomfortable. And what happens after? You get home completely drained, not physically, emotionally, because pretending is exhausting, suppressing is exhausting, constantly controlling what you show and what you hide is like living in permanent tension. And that tension? It's pure fuel for anxiety. Seneca wrote something that fits perfectly here. He said, "We are not disturbed by things, but by the opinions we have about them." And that includes the opinions we have about our own emotions. If you believe sadness is bad, you'll repress it. If you think fear makes you weak, you'll hide it. If you see anxiety as a flaw, you'll fight it. And that internal fight is what's tearing you apart. So what do? How do you stop fighting your feelings? First, you name them. Truly name them. Saying, "I feel bad" isn't enough. That's too vague. You have to be specific. I feel frustrated because I'm not making progress at work. I feel alone, even when I'm surrounded by people. I'm scared this won't work out and everything will fall apart. Naming what you feel is like turning on a light in a dark room. It doesn't solve everything, but it's no longer an invisible threat. And when you can see it, you can start dealing with it. Here's something that works incredibly well. It's called the emotional traffic light. Simple but powerful. Red. Stop. Whatever you're doing, stop. Even if you're in the middle of a conversation, working, watching TV, pause for 30 seconds. Just 30. And ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Don't judge the answer, just ask. Yellow. Observe. Where do you feel it in your body? Chest? Stomach? Throat? What triggered it? Something someone said? Something you thought? A memory? What emotion is behind it? Fear, shame, exhaustion, anger, name it. Green. Choose. What do you need right now? Not to fix everything, just the next step that brings you closer to calm, not chaos. Maybe it's a walk, calling someone, writing down what you're feeling, taking a deep breath, closing your eyes for a minute. Whatever helps you connect instead of escape. This practice might seem small, but trust me, it's powerful. Because anxiety often doesn't come from feeling too much. It comes from suppressing everything. And when you finally give space to what's inside, your mind stops fighting itself. And that, even if it feels subtle, is a massive relief. Marcus Aurelius used to write each night, reviewing his day. One of the things he'd reflect on was his emotional reactions. Not to judge them, but to understand them. To look at what was behind them. Because he knew that if he didn't understand his emotions, they would end up controlling him. And he didn't want to be ruled by anything outside of reason. Now here's something important, my friend. Observing your emotions doesn't mean getting lost in them. It doesn't mean spending hours analyzing every feeling. It doesn't mean becoming someone who's constantly talking about how they feel. It means giving your emotions just enough space so they don't get stuck. It means recognizing them without letting them define you. It means understanding that you can feel anxious and still function. That you can feel sadness and still move forward. That you can feel fear and still choose to act. Think of it this way. Emotions are like little kids. If you don't listen to them, they scream. But if you kneel down, look them in the eye, and ask what's wrong, they calm down. They don't need much. They just need to be seen. Do the same for yourself. Listen to yourself more. Because sometimes what your anxiety is asking for isn't more effort. It's that you finally feel what you've been avoiding. And in that honest moment with yourself, that's where real freedom begins. And let me leave you with something you may have never heard before. You're not weak because you feel. You're not broken because you have uncomfortable emotions. You're not failing because anxiety overwhelms you sometimes. You're human, and being human means you feel. It means you'll have bad days. It means you won't always be okay, and that's okay. What's not okay is pretending you are when you're not, because that lie is what's quietly destroying you inside. So next time you feel that strange tightness in your chest, that anxiety with no clear cause, don't ignore it. Don't push it down. Don't keep scrolling to distract yourself. Stop, breathe, ask yourself what's really going on, and give it a name. Because once you name it, once you see it, once you stop hiding from yourself, you'll discover something powerful. That staying calm doesn't mean feeling nothing. It means feeling everything and not letting it pull you under. Lesson 6. Your inner voice can be your worst enemy or your greatest ally. You've been stuck on the same thought for 3 days. That conversation you had, that decision you made, that mistake you wish you hadn't. And every time you think about it, that voice shows up. The one you know all too well, the one that says you messed everything up, that you're not cut out for this, that this always happens to you, that you'll never learn. And the worst part? It doesn't show up once. It plays on loop again and again. Like a broken record you can't shut off. And with each repeat, you sink a little deeper. Here's the part no one tells you. That voice isn't neutral. It's not harmless. It doesn't go unnoticed. That voice builds your reality. It decides how you feel, how you act, whether anxiety eats you alive or you manage to stay calm. Because it's not the same to say, I made a mistake, as it is to say, I'm a disaster. It's not the same to think, this was hard, as it is to think, I'll never be able to handle this. The words you use with yourself don't just describe how you feel, they create it. And if that voice is full of judgment, pressure, and guilt, all it does is fuel anxiety. Because you live in threat mode even when you're alone. Your own brain treats you like the enemy. It attacks, it criticizes, it crushes, and then you wonder why peace feels so far away, why you're always tense, why anxiety never seems to leave. The answer is right there, in that voice that keeps telling you you're not enough. Epictetus wrote something that can completely change this perspective. He said, "First, say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do." He didn't say to insult yourself. He didn't say to convince yourself you can't. He said to define your direction. Let your inner voice guide you, not crush you. Because if you've decided you want to be strong, compassionate, steady, then you have to speak to yourself like someone who's walking toward that. You can't build strength through self-destruction. You can't reach calm by attacking yourself on the way there. And this isn't some abstract philosophy. It's neuroscience. Because emotions aren't just automatic reactions like we're led to believe. They're constructed. And one of the main tools that builds them is language. Meaning what you say to yourself directly shapes how you feel. Your inner dialogue can either light the fire of anxiety or help put it out. It can turn a difficult moment into a disaster or into a challenge you can manage. Think of it like this. You're driving, running late. You take the wrong exit. Now you're going to be even later. And here comes the voice. You're such an idiot. Distracted again. You always mess everything up. You can't even do the simplest things right. And with every word, anxiety spikes. Your heart races, your grip tightens, your jaw locks up, and what could have been a small mistake turns into proof that you're worthless. But what if you said something different? Okay, I took the wrong exit. I'm stressed, and that happens. I'll still make it. And if I'm late, I'll explain. It's not the end of the world. Feels different, right? And here's the key. It also feels different in your body. Your nervous system responds. Your mind starts to settle. The anxiety softens. Not because you fixed the situation, but because you changed how you speak to yourself about it. Charlie Mackesy, the British illustrator behind The Boy, The Mole, The Fox, and The Horse, lived this firsthand. For years, anxiety left him paralyzed. Some days he couldn't even leave the house. The voice in his head kept repeating, "You're not enough. You're no good. Everything you do is wrong." But something started to shift when he changed how he spoke to himself, when he began treating himself with the same compassion he gave to others. In one of his most loved drawings, the boy asks the horse, "What's the bravest thing you've ever said?" And the horse replies, "Help." Sometimes, being kind to yourself, acknowledging that you're struggling, Speaking to yourself like someone who truly cares about you is the bravest act of all, because it goes against everything we were taught. We were taught to be hard on ourselves, to suck it up, to tough it out. But no one told us that being hard on yourself doesn't make you stronger. It makes you more fragile. It wears you down. It breaks you from the inside. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, wrestled constantly with his own inner voice. And there's something he wrote in his meditations that reveals how he dealt with it. Speak only what is true, to yourself and to others. Because he knew that lying to yourself, whether by exaggerating your flaws or avoiding your responsibility, only created more inner chaos. Truth is balanced. It doesn't crush you, but it doesn't let you off the hook either. So, are you ready to change that voice? To keep calm and eliminate anxiety at the root? You probably are, and maybe you're wondering, but how do I actually change it? How do I stop attacking myself all the time? Here's a simple trick. Replace I am with I feel. You're not anxious, you feel anxious. You're not a failure, you're going through a hard time. What you feel isn't your identity. It's a temporary state. And just that shift changes everything, because when you say I am anxious, it becomes who you are. But when you say I feel anxious, it's just what's happening right now, something that can pass. And every time you catch yourself criticizing, add this phrase, and I'm still learning. It's a way to remind yourself that messing up doesn't make you less, that mistakes are part of the process, that no one's born knowing everything, that we're all out here doing our best. And the fact that you care about getting better, that already says a lot about who you are. Also, try this. Speak to yourself like a coach who believes in you, one who corrects without humiliating, who encourages without expecting perfection, who stays with you even when you fail, who reminds you of your strengths when all you see are your flaws, who tells you the truth, but always with respect, because that is what you need, not more punches. Life throws enough of those. You need someone in your corner, and that someone has to be you. Seneca once said that we treat strangers with more kindness than we give ourselves, that we show more compassion to others than to our own minds. And that's insane. Because if you're not kind to yourself, if you don't treat yourself with respect, if your own voice is your worst enemy, how do you expect to find peace? How do you expect to eliminate anxiety when your mind is a battlefield? The voice you hear most in your life is your own. It's there when you wake up, when you work, when you eat, when you lie down at night. It's there in your best moments and in your lowest. It doesn't shut up. It doesn't go away. So it better be a voice that helps you move forward, not one that trips you up every time you try to take a step. And if you really want to get rid of anxiety, if you truly want to stay calm even when life gets hard, start there. Start by speaking to yourself like someone who deserves peace. Because you do, my friend. You do, even if you've made mistakes, even if you're not perfect. You do because you're human. And being human means messing up. It means having bad days. It means not always being okay. But it also means having the power to choose how you treat yourself. And that choice, repeated day after day, that's what changes everything. Lesson 7. Build a rhythm that can carry your day. Anxiety doesn't just show up when something bad happens. Sometimes it creeps in precisely when nothing is happening, when you wake up and don't know where to start, when every task feels just as urgent and just as meaningless, when the day is a blank page and you have no idea where to begin writing. And suddenly, there it is again, that feeling of floating aimlessly, drifting, not in control of anything. Because your mind needs anchors. It needs to know where it stands. It needs reference points, steady signals that say, there's something solid here. When everything is improvised, when every day looks completely different for no reason, your brain goes into alert mode. It sees that lack of structure as a threat, like being lost in a forest with no map. And that's when anxiety appears. Not because there's real danger, but because your mind doesn't know where to hold on. Here's something no one tells you about routines. They're not about productivity. They're not about stuffing your schedule with tasks. They're not about becoming a robot who does the same thing every day without thinking. They're about creating internal order when the world around you feels like chaos. They give your mind a predictable rhythm so it can relax. Because when you know what comes next, when you have even a minimal structure to follow, your brain doesn't have to keep deciding, planning, worrying about what you should be doing. Seneca summed it up perfectly when he said, "There's no favorable wind for the one who doesn't know where they're going." And he wasn't talking about having a detailed life plan. He meant something much simpler and more important, knowing what you're going to do today. Having a clear direction, even if it's just for the next 2 hours. Because when you don't know where you're headed, every distraction derails you. Every setback throws you off. Every small problem feels like a crisis because you have no solid base to respond from. Kendrick Lamar lived this in a powerful way. He's one of the most influential artists of his generation, and he's spoken openly about his anxiety, about the days he couldn't even leave the house, about the pressure to live up to expectations that crushed him. And what helped him most wasn't awards, it wasn't fame, it wasn't applause or recognition. It was something much simpler, building a routine, writing at the same time every day, avoiding his phone in the morning, eating breakfast without rushing, walking the same path. Small habits that seem insignificant, but gave his mind structure when everything else felt like chaos, because sometimes the simplest things are the ones that keep you standing. You don't need massive changes, you need anchors, small rituals that remind you who you are when everything else feels out of control. Marcus Aurelius, in the middle of ruling an empire at war, had his own routines. He woke up before dawn, he wrote, he reflected on the day ahead. He reviewed his principles, and he did it even during military campaigns, even in moments of crisis, even when everything outside was urgent and falling apart, because he knew that if he lost his internal structure, if he let external chaos dictate how he lived each day, he'd lose his center. And without a center, there's no way to stay calm. Don't get it twisted, my friend. A routine is not a prison. It's not a rigid checklist of tasks you must complete perfectly or feel guilty. It's the opposite. It's your freedom. Because when you have just 3 or 4 fixed points in your day, everything else can flow. When you already know how you're going to start your morning, you don't have to decide it every time. You don't have to burn mental energy on something so basic, and that energy you save, you can use it for what really matters. Ali Abdaal, a doctor and content creator, talks about something he calls the minimum friction system. The key isn't having the world's most impressive routine. It's not about waking up at 5 a.m. if you hate mornings. It's not about doing an hour of yoga if you've never tried it. The key is making it so easy that you have no excuse not to do it. So simple that even on your worst days, you can still stick with it. Because the problem with most routines is that they're too ambitious. You start off super motivated. You crush the first 3 days, then you miss one, then another, and suddenly you drop the whole thing because it feels pointless. But that's not a discipline problem. It's a design problem. You created a routine that requires more energy than you usually have. Want to build a routine that really works to eliminate anxiety and stay calm? Start with 3 things. Just 3, not 10, not 20. 3. And they should be so simple that even when you're exhausted, even when you don't want to do anything, you still can. Open the window and let the sunlight hit your face for 1 minute. Make a coffee in silence without touching your phone. Write 1 sentence about how you feel. Stretch your body for 30 seconds before starting the day. Small gestures that seem like nothing, that no one will clap for, that aren't made for Instagram, but they change everything. Because it's not the action that matters most. It's what that action tells your mind. It says, I'm in charge here. Even if the world's a mess, in here there's something I can control. There's something that's mine. Second, do them in the same order, at the same time, if possible. Because what gives a routine power isn't variety, it's repetition. It's your brain recognizing a pattern and relaxing because it knows what comes next. It's like when you were a kid and your parents had a bedtime ritual. Brush your teeth, put on pajamas, read a story, turn off the lights. That predictable sequence made you feel safe. It let you relax. And your adult mind works the same way. It needs those reference points to let its guard down. Epictetus taught his students that freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you want, whenever you want. It comes from discipline over what is within your control. And your morning routine is exactly that. It's your way of telling the world, before I answer your demands, before I react to your noise, I'm going to check in with myself. I'm going to make sure I'm okay first, before trying to fix anything outside. And here's what might surprise you. A good routine doesn't make you more rigid. It makes you more flexible. Because when you've got a solid foundation, when there are a few things you always do no matter what, the rest of the day can be unpredictable and you won't break. You can handle the unexpected without losing yourself. You can change plans without feeling like everything is falling apart, because you already did your part. You already put your piece first. Now imagine this. It's Monday morning. You wake up already feeling the weight of the week, all the things you have to do, all the things that could go wrong, all the pressure to handle it all. And your first instinct? Grab your phone, check for emergencies, start reacting. But instead, you remember your routine. 3 simple things. You open the window, you take a deep breath of fresh air, you make tea slowly. You write 1 sentence. Today, I'll do what I can. And that's enough. 5 minutes. That's it. And what happens in those 5 minutes? Your mind starts to calm down. Not because you fixed everything, not because the week got easier, but because you created a space where you decide, where you're not reacting, where you're present. And that space, as small as it is, that's how you eliminate anxiety before it takes over your day. Seneca wrote about this too. He said we should dedicate time each day to mentally prepare, to revisit our principles, to remember what matters and what doesn't. Because he knew, if you don't intentionally create that space, the day will consume you. Urgencies will drain you. You'll get to the end of the day exhausted, without doing a single thing that actually mattered. Your routine is that space. It's how you stop living in constant reaction. It's your anchor when everything else is moving. It's the reminder that even if you can't control what happens out there, you can control how you begin, and how you begin shapes how you hold the rest of your day. So don't overthink it, my friend. Better to have 5 consistent minutes than a perfect hour you never follow. Better to keep 3 simple habits going for months than to give up 20 ambitious ones in a week. The goal isn't perfection, it's consistency. It's building a rhythm that tells your mind, there's order here, there's stability, there's something I can trust. And when that order appears, when your day has even a bit of structure that you chose, anxiety doesn't get to run the show. Calm does. And no, of course anxiety won't vanish completely, but it loses strength. Because you're no longer drifting. You're no longer improvising your life like an actor without a script. You have a rhythm. You have a base. You have something that's yours. And in a world where everything feels uncertain, that changes absolutely everything. Lesson 8. Accept what you can't change before it consumes you. There are fights you can't win, not because you're weak, not because you didn't try hard enough, but because the fight itself makes no sense. You're fighting something that already happened, something that's not in your hands, a reality that won't change no matter how much you resist it. And the more energy you pour into that battle, the more exhausted you feel, more anxious, more worn down. That's exactly what resistance does. It wears you out. It consumes you. It traps you in a mental loop where you keep going over what should have been different, what you should have said, what you should have done, how things should have turned out. And every time you go through it again, the anxiety grows, because you're trying to change something that's already written. You're fighting a ghost. Marcus Aurelius dealt with this constantly. He ruled an empire that was falling apart. Plagues, wars, betrayals, natural disasters, impossible decisions every day. He could have spent his whole life resisting that reality. wondering why he had to rule during such hard times, wishing he'd been born in an era of peace. But he didn't. Instead, he wrote something that's still just as true today. Don't wish for things to happen the way you want. Wish for them to happen as they do, and your life will flow well. And no, that's not giving up. It's not resignation. It's not sitting back and accepting injustice or staying quiet when you should act. It's something much deeper and more powerful. It's about not wasting your energy on battles that are already lost. It's understanding that there are things you can't control, and resisting them doesn't change them. It only destroys you from the inside. Psychologist Nicole LaPera talks about something she calls the controller syndrome. It's not a medical diagnosis, just a very accurate description of how many of us live, with this constant drive to make everything go according to plan, for the meeting to start on time, for nobody to interrupt us, for nothing to go wrong, for life to follow our script. But life doesn't take orders, so every time something goes off track, we panic, we feel under attack, we go into war mode. That's when the real mental exhaustion kicks in, because you're in constant tension, trying to correct a world that isn't yours to control, trying to hold up things that were never in your hands. And every time you fail, because you will, your anxiety spikes, your frustration builds, the exhaustion settles in, and by the end of the day, you're not drained because of what happened, but because of how hard you fought against it. Picture this. You're stuck in traffic. You're late for an important meeting. You check the clock every 30 seconds. You tap the steering wheel. You sigh loudly as if that's going to clear the road. You keep repeating to yourself that this can't be happening today, that it's not fair, that you had everything planned, and then it hits, your stomach tightens, you start to sweat, the anxiety explodes. But stop for a second. What can you actually do in that moment? Can you make the traffic disappear? No. Can you teleport? No. Can you go back in time and leave earlier? No. So what are you doing? You're resisting something that's already happening. And that resistance doesn't change anything outside. It only breaks you inside. Epictetus lived as a slave for years. He had no control over his time, no choice in his tasks, no way to change his situation. And yet, in the middle of all that, he found a way to stay calm. Because he realized something crucial. There are things you control and things you don't, and your peace depends entirely on not mixing them up. His formula was simple, but incredibly effective. Ask yourself, is this under my control? If the answer is yes, act. Do what's in your hands, change what you can, but if the answer is no, let it go. Stop resisting, stop fighting, because that fight is only going to eat you alive. And here's something that's important to understand. Letting go doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you're fine with anything that happens. It doesn't mean you're giving up. It means the opposite. It means you care so much about your peace that you won't waste it on things you can't control. It means you're saving your energy for the things that truly matter. Seneca said we suffer more in our imagination than in reality, that most of our pain doesn't come from what actually happens, but from how we resist it, from how we mentally fight against the facts, from how we keep clinging to how things should have been instead of accepting how they are. And he was right. Think about how much time you spend each day fighting things that already happened. That conversation that went badly, that opportunity you missed, that mistake you made. You can't change any of it. It's done. But you keep going over it. You keep imagining how it could have gone differently. You keep punishing yourself for not doing better. And all that resistance just feeds the anxiety. So what can you do instead? How do you stop resisting? How do you accept what you can't change without feeling like you're giving up? Start by saying it out loud. This is happening. It might sound silly, but naming the moment reduces the internal tension. You're no longer denying the truth. You're no longer fighting reality. You're recognizing it. And that simple act can shift your whole mindset. It pulls you out of combat mode and brings you back into clarity. Then change the question. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can I do with this now?" The first question leaves you stuck. It keeps you in the role of victim. It focuses on what you can't change. The second one puts you in motion. It reminds you that while you can't control what happened, you still get to choose how to respond. And one more thing. Pause for 3 seconds before you react. Just 3. It's enough to interrupt the automatic response. Enough to ask, is this within my control? And if it's not, choose to let go instead of getting dragged into the fight. Because here's the truth. Most of your anxiety doesn't come from your problems. It comes from your resistance to them, from fighting how things are. And the more you resist, the more you suffer. Not because the problem is worse, but because you've doubled it. First, the problem itself. And second, the pain of not accepting it. Marcus Aurelius knew this well. He wrote, "Remove your opinion and you've removed the complaint. Remove the complaint and the harm disappears." He didn't mean the problem itself would go away. He meant the inner damage disappears. Because the problem doesn't destroy you. Your story about the problem does. Your resistance does. And when you stop fighting reality, when you accept what is, something powerful happens. Your anxiety goes down. Not because the situation magically changed, but because you stopped feeding the internal war. You stopped wasting your energy on what can't be changed, and now you can use that energy to adjust, to act, to find your next move. Sometimes the problem isn't the storm. It's that you're trying to blow the storm away. As if your frustration could change the wind, as if your resistance could stop the rain. But that's not how life works. The storm will pass, or it won't, regardless of how you feel about it. The only thing you get to decide is how you walk through it. And that's what it means to eliminate anxiety and stay calm. It doesn't mean nothing ever goes wrong. It means you stop adding extra suffering by resisting what's already happened. It means you learn to see what's in your hands and what's not. It means you save your energy for where it really counts. Because when you stop fighting battles you can't win, you realize something amazing. Staying calm doesn't mean everything is okay. It means you're okay, even when everything isn't. Lesson 9. What you let into your mind either builds you or breaks you. Imagine your mind is a house you live in every day, where you sleep, where you try to rest. Now imagine that every morning you open all the doors and windows wide open, no filter, no criteria, and you let everything in. The yelling neighbor, the garbage truck, the barking dog, random conversations, street smoke, traffic noise, everything, absolutely everything. And then you wonder why you can't relax, why your head hurts, why you feel this constant anxiety and don't know where it's coming from. That's exactly what you're doing to your mind every time you pick up your phone without thinking. Every time you open Twitter and get pulled into arguments that have nothing to do with you. Every time you binge catastrophic news nonstop. Every time you scroll through Instagram comparing your life to the edited versions of other people's lives. You're throwing your mind's doors wide open and letting garbage flood in. And then you're surprised when you feel anxious, when you can't focus, when your brain feels loud and unsettled. Because here's a truth nobody really tells you. Your mind isn't an infinite container where you can throw in whatever you want without consequences. Your mind is a living system. It responds to what you feed it. If you feed it junk, it produces anxiety. If you feed it constant conflict, it produces stress. If you feed it endless comparison, it produces dissatisfaction. It's not magic, it's chemistry, it's biology. It's your brain doing exactly what it's supposed to do, respond to the input it receives. And the problem isn't that social media or the news are inherently bad. The problem is the amount, the intensity, the lack of filter. You're consuming content designed to hijack your attention at all costs. Content that agitates you, outrages you, scares you, makes you feel like the world is collapsing. And all of that goes straight into your nervous system before you even realize it. You may not notice, but every time you open an app, your brain releases a small dose of dopamine, that little hit of pleasure that makes you want more. And with each notification, like, or comment, your brain craves the next fix. It turns into an addictive loop where you're not using the platform. It's using you. And this isn't a conspiracy theory, it's intentional design. These platforms are built to keep you hooked, so you can't put the phone down, so you keep scrolling even when you're not enjoying it anymore. So you go in just for a minute and come out 40 minutes later, unsure of what you just consumed but feeling this weird emptiness in your chest. Epictetus didn't have a smartphone. He didn't have Wi-Fi. He didn't scroll endlessly. But he knew exactly what he was talking about when he warned us to be careful about what we let into our minds. Because even though his distractions were different, the principle was the same. What you consume shapes you. Your thoughts don't come from nowhere. They're built from what you let in. And if you let in noise, you get internal noise. He once said something powerful. Don't boast about being admired for your love of learning unless your actions are also worthy of admiration. And this applies perfectly to how we use technology today. It's not enough to say you care about peace, that you're working on your anxiety, that you value mental calm. If you spend your day watching videos that trigger you, arguments that aren't yours, lives that make you feel inadequate, you're not protecting your mind, you're sabotaging it. Now picture this. You wake up. You grab your phone before you even get out of bed. You open Instagram. First post, someone on a perfect beach with a perfect body. Meanwhile, you're in bed, hair messy, eye bags showing. Second post, someone announcing a promotion. You've been in the same job for months with no progress. Third post, a couple celebrating their anniversary. You haven't had a deep conversation with anyone in weeks. And post after post, comparison after comparison, until you finally close the app feeling like your life is worthless. And it's not even 8 a.m. And here's the worst part. None of what you saw was real. They're edited snapshots, curated moments, carefully constructed versions of lives that have just as many problems as yours. But your brain doesn't know that. It sees those images and compares them to your reality. And every comparison is a small cut, a small dose of anxiety, a small confirmation that you're not enough. And this builds up, because it's not just Instagram. It's Twitter with its constant arguments. It's TikTok with videos engineered to keep you hooked. It's the news hammering you with catastrophe after catastrophe. It's YouTube's algorithm dragging you from one video to the next without your conscious input. And before you know it, you've spent 2 hours consuming content you didn't choose, didn't enjoy, and that directly fed your anxiety. Trevor Haynes, a behavioral researcher at Harvard, explains that the more you're exposed to this kind of intense stimulation, the more your dopamine system gets disrupted. It's like living in constant mental hyperactivity. You lose focus. You develop this baseline anxiety you can't trace back to anything, as if your mind is stuck with the foot on the gas, even when there's no road ahead. You've probably experienced this. You open YouTube looking for a bread recipe. 40 minutes later, you're watching someone rant about global conspiracies, inflation, and the collapse of the world. Your body hasn't moved. You're still in your pajamas, but your mind has crossed 5 countries, 7 conflicting opinions, and 3 apocalyptic threats. You end up exhausted, irritated, with a weird pressure in your chest, and you don't even know why. That's not random, my friend. That's mental overload. So what can you do? How do you filter what you consume without hiding in a bubble or ignoring the world? Do a digital cleanup. Just like you clean out your closet from clothes you no longer wear, go through the accounts you follow. And ask yourself honestly, does this give me something? Does it teach me, inspire me, help me feel better? If the answer is no, if it only agitates, compares, or worries you, let it go. No guilt, no fear of offending anyone. Your peace of mind is more important than any social obligation to follow someone. And yes, that includes people you know. You can mute friends, family, co-workers. You don't have to cut them out of your life. You don't even have to stop talking to them. You just need to stop constantly exposing yourself to their content if it triggers you. That's not selfish, that's self-care. It's knowing your mind needs rest, not more noise. Create your mental corner. Curate the channels, podcasts, and creators that actually inspire you, that teach you something, that help you breathe. Fill your digital space with content that brings you closer to peace, not chaos. It's not about living in a bubble. It's about not getting bombarded all day with things you can't control, and that only feed your anxiety. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this constantly, about the need to guard your thoughts, to not let every external impression take over your mind. And while he was talking about the Roman Forum and annoying people in public spaces, the principle is the same. You have to choose what gets in. Because once it's in, it stays. It builds up. It becomes part of how you think and how you feel. And don't forget to set time limits. It's unrealistic to say you'll never use social media, but you can decide when and how much. Set a timer, 30 minutes a day, an hour, tops. And when time's up, it's up. No negotiations, no just 5 more minutes, done, because if you don't set limits, these platforms will consume all the time you give them and leave you drained. That includes your mornings too. Try digital fasting. 1 day a week with no social media, no news, no passive content. Just you, your real life, and the people around you. And see what happens. Watch how your anxiety shifts, how your mind breathes, how you feel when you're not being bombarded every second with things you didn't ask for. Seneca used to talk about voluntary poverty, the idea of temporarily giving up things you usually depend on to remind yourself you can live without them, that they're not essential, that your peace doesn't depend on them. And that applies perfectly to digital consumption. Try living without social media for a day and see that nothing happens. Your life continues. Your real friends are still there. The world doesn't end. And you, without all that noise, feel much more at ease, because what you consume either builds you or breaks you. There's no middle ground. Every post you see, every video you watch, every headline you read is shaping your inner reality. It's fueling your thoughts. It's deciding whether you'll feel anxious or calm. And if you don't consciously filter what gets in, if you leave the door to your mind wide open, you'll end up full of junk, full of anxiety that isn't even yours, full of problems you can't fix, full of comparisons that only hurt you. So ask yourself this: what if the thing stealing your peace isn't anxiety itself, but what you're letting into your mind every day without thinking? What if eliminating anxiety and staying calm starts by closing a few doors? By deciding what deserves space in your mind and what doesn't? Try the experiment. Unfollow one account that agitates you. Follow someone who brings you peace, and watch how that one small choice shifts your entire day. Because sometimes, peace isn't something you find. It's something you protect. And protecting it starts with guarding what you let in. Lesson 10. When was the last time you stopped thinking and just moved? Do you remember? The last time your head felt so full it was about to burst? When your thoughts were spinning round and round and there was no way to shut them off? When you tried to breathe, tried to distract yourself, tried to reason with your own mind, and nothing worked? Do you remember that feeling of being trapped inside yourself with no way out? So what did you do? I bet that at some point, almost without thinking, you got up. You went out for a walk, or you climbed up and down stairs with no purpose, or you suddenly started cleaning the house like someone possessed. And then, without knowing exactly how or why, that pressure in your chest started to ease. Those thoughts that felt so urgent lost their grip, and you breathed, really breathed, for the first time in hours. Have you ever wondered why that happens? Why, when your mind is overloaded, what calms it down isn't more thinking, but movement? Because anxiety is like a hyperactive hamster running in a wheel inside your head. And no matter how much you yell at it to stop, no matter how hard you try to reason with it, the hamster runs faster, more frantic, more desperate. And there you are, stuck in that mental loop with no exit. But there's one thing that works, something that stops that wheel when nothing else can. And it's so simple it almost seems ridiculous. Move, literally, go outside, walk. Use your body to calm your mind, because your brain and your body aren't separate entities. They're connected in ways we're only beginning to understand. And when one moves, the other responds. Kelly McGonigal, a psychologist at Stanford and author of The Upside of Stress, has spent years researching this connection. And what she found is fascinating. When you walk, When you move your body in a rhythmic, repetitive way, you activate a specific part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex. That's the part responsible for emotional control, decision-making, the ability to regulate what you feel. It's like the conductor that keeps the whole orchestra in tune. But when you're anxious, when you're trapped in a loop of catastrophic thoughts, that part of the brain shuts down. It stops working properly. And that's when you lose control. You can't think clearly, you can't make rational decisions. Everything feels urgent, chaotic, overwhelming. But walking reactivates it. It turns it back on. And suddenly you get your clarity back. You can breathe. You remember that not everything is falling apart. And the best part? You don't have to run a marathon. You don't have to hit the gym. You don't need to do intense workouts. Just 10 minutes of movement. That's it. 10 uninterrupted minutes of walking can start shifting your nervous system out of high alert. Just 10. But they have to be 10 present minutes. No music to distract you. No podcast to fill your brain. No phone keeping you hooked. Just you, your steps, and the world around you. Epictetus taught something that fits perfectly with this. He said that happiness and freedom begin with clearly understanding one principle. Some things are within our control, and others are not. And when you're anxious, when your mind is spinning non-stop, you're trying to control what's uncontrollable. You're mentally trying to solve problems that may not even have immediate solutions. And that useless effort drains you. But your body, that you can control, you can choose to stand up, you can choose to take a step, and then another, and another. And with every step, you're doing something your mind can't. You're acting, you're moving stuck energy. You're releasing what's trapped inside. And that, simple as it may seem, small as it might look, has the power to calm anxiety like almost nothing else. Let me tell you something personal. Some time ago, I went through a tough stage. Longtime friends started to drift away. Not because of fights, not because of anything specific. I was just changing. My habits, my priorities, the way I wanted to live. And that made me stop fitting in. I felt alone, misunderstood. And even though it wasn't my fault, even though I knew I was doing the right thing for me, anxiety kept creeping in more and more every day. One afternoon, I felt so overwhelmed I started eating compulsively. A whole bag of nuts in under 5 minutes. Not because I was hungry, not because I enjoyed them. Just trying to fill a void with whatever was in reach. When I realized what I had done, I felt terrible. I dropped the bag, and I went out for a walk. I didn't know where I was going. I had no destination, no plan. I just walked. And it was on that walk, no music, no phone, just me and my steps, that everything started to calm down. I didn't fix my problems. My friends didn't magically return. My situation didn't change. But something inside me shifted. That constant pressure in my chest eased. That feeling of being on the verge of breaking softened. And for the first time in days, I could actually breathe. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure you've lived this too. Picture this. You're working on something important. You've been staring at the screen for hours. Suddenly, everything disappears. The system crashes. No backup. Say goodbye to the document you've been working on for days, and all you're left with is a pit in your stomach and the urge to throw your laptop out the window. What do? Do you just sit there staring at the blank screen, letting frustration turn into panic? Do you try to reason with yourself, telling yourself, it's not a big deal? Do you force yourself to start over even though every cell in your body is screaming that you can't? No, my friend. You get up, you walk, you breathe, you move your body. Because even if you can't fix the problem right then, you can stop the anxiety from eating you alive. And here's what most people don't get. It's not about running away from the problem. It's not about avoiding what you feel. It's about giving your nervous system a chance to reset before you collapse. Because when you're deep in anxiety, your body goes into survival mode. Your heart races. Your breath shortens. Your muscles tense up. And in that state, you can't think clearly. You can't make good decisions. You can't do anything productive, but when you walk, when you move your body rhythmically, you're sending a clear message to your brain. We're not in danger. We don't need to run. We don't need to fight. We're walking, that means we're okay. And your body, always faithful, starts to listen. The heart rate drops, your breathing slows, your muscles release. And then, and only then, can your mind come back online. Marcus Aurelius used to walk constantly, even in the middle of military campaigns, in times of political crisis, in moments when everything seemed to be falling apart. He made time to walk, to move, to remind his body that he was alive. And he wrote about it in his meditations, about the importance of not getting stuck in your mind, of remembering that you're a physical being, that your body needs care too. So don't overthink it, my friend. When you feel anxiety rising, when you feel that knot in your stomach, that pressure in your chest, those thoughts spinning nonstop, just stand up. Don't ask if it makes sense. Don't look for excuses. Just get up and go. You don't need workout clothes. You don't need a perfect route. You just need to leave the space you're in, and do it without stimulation if you can. No music, no podcasts, no phone, just you, the air, and your footsteps. Because what you need isn't more distraction. You need presence. You need to reconnect with your body. You need to feel that you're here, now, walking. And that simple connection between your feet and the ground has an enormous power to bring you back to the present. As you walk, repeat this like a mantra. I don't need to figure it all out. I just need to walk right now. Because part of your anxiety comes from trying to mentally solve everything, from chasing answers that may not exist yet, from trying to control what you can't. But when you walk, when you focus only on the movement, you give your mind permission to let go, to stop searching, to just be. Seneca believed this too. He wrote that many times movement of the body can heal distress of the soul, that changing locations, even temporarily, can shift your internal state. Not because the place matters so much, but because the act of moving breaks the mental loop you're stuck in. And that's exactly what you need when anxiety has you against the ropes. Not more analysis, not more inner debates, not more desperate searches for the perfect solution. Just movement, simple, direct, effective, because sometimes your body is the only one who can do what your mind can't. Stop the loop, calm the storm, bring you back to yourself. So next time you feel like anxiety is taking over, remember this: get up, go outside, walk. Not for hours, not for miles, just long enough to remind your nervous system that you're safe, that there's no real danger, that you can breathe. And watch what happens. Watch how that one simple act of moving your body transforms your entire state of mind. Because calming anxiety doesn't always require complex solutions. Sometimes it just takes remembering that you have a body, and that body, when you move it, can calm your mind better than any thought ever could. Lesson 11. Your story already has battles you've won. You're just forgetting them. Marcus Aurelius was 38 when the Antonine Plague devastated Rome. This wasn't just any illness. It was a pandemic that killed millions. The streets reeked of death. Bodies piled up. People died in their homes with no one to help them. And he, as emperor, had to keep making decisions. He had to keep the empire running while everything around him was falling apart. And that wasn't all. The borders were under attack. Germanic tribes invaded constantly. He had to lead military campaigns in the middle of a plague. His soldiers died, not just in battle, but from disease. His wife, Faustina, had just passed away too. On top of that, he had to deal with betrayal from inside his own circle, people conspiring against him, trying to take advantage of the chaos. Any normal person would have broken down, would have said, "I can't take this anymore," would have felt like it was too much, that they'd never faced anything like this before, that they didn't have the tools to handle it. But Marcus Aurelius didn't do that. In the middle of all that chaos, every night he sat down to write. And one of the things he wrote was this: "Don't say this is too much for you. If it's happening, then you can handle it." Because he understood something fundamental. That this wasn't the first hard thing he'd ever faced. That his whole life had been preparing him for this. That every crisis before, every problem he once thought would break him, had taught him something, had made him stronger. And that this crisis, as brutal as it was, would be no different, because he had already survived so many. And that is exactly what you need to remember when anxiety tries to convince you that you can't handle this, that it's too much, that you've never felt this bad before, because yes, you have. Maybe not in the same way, maybe not with the same details, but you've hit rock bottom before. You've felt like everything was falling apart. You've thought you wouldn't make it through. And yet, here you are, breathing, living, still fighting. Your story already has battles you've won. The problem is, anxiety makes you forget them. It convinces you that every crisis is the first, that you've never gone through anything like this before, that this time you really can't handle it. But that's a lie. It's a lie your mind tells you when it's in survival mode, because remembering your past victories weakens your present fear. Emma Stone went through something like this in a brutal way. She was 13, sitting in class. Everything seemed normal, until it wasn't. Suddenly, her heart started racing for no reason. She couldn't breathe. Her hands were shaking. No matter how hard she tried to act normal, her whole world was shrinking. The teacher kept talking. Her classmates kept laughing. But in her mind, everything had turned into white noise, like she was trapped in a fish tank watching life go on from behind the glass. She tried to leave the room but couldn't. She could barely speak. She thought she was going to pass out, that something terrible was about to happen, that she had completely lost control. That was her first panic attack, and the worst part wasn't the fear itself. It was the feeling that she wouldn't be able to handle it, that this was permanent, that it was too much for her, that her life would never be normal again. And for years, she lived with that anxiety. She didn't understand it, and no one seemed to notice. On the outside, everything looked fine. She went to school. She did her activities. She smiled when she was supposed to. But inside, it was a war. A constant fear that the next panic attack could come at any moment, that everything could spiral again, that she wouldn't be able to cope. But one day, during one of those episodes, someone told her something that stuck. You felt this before, and you survived, and that changed everything. It didn't magically erase her anxiety. It didn't stop the panic attacks overnight. But it gave her something to hold on to, a rope in the chaos, a way to answer her mind when it screamed, "You can't." Every time her anxiety said, "You can't," she answered, "I already did." Every time she felt like she was losing control, she reminded herself, "I've lost control before, and I made it through." Every time the fear whispered that this time was different, she forced herself to remember, "That's what I thought last time, and yet I'm still here." And that simple practice, that constant exercise of remembering the battles she'd already won, is what allowed her not just to survive, but to become one of the most successful actresses of her generation. Not because the anxiety disappeared, but because she learned not to let it erase her story, her evidence, her proof that she could. Epictetus taught something similar to his students. He told them that whenever they faced a hardship, they shouldn't see it as something new. They should remember all the hardships they'd already overcome, because each one was proof. Each one was evidence of their strength, and that evidence was more powerful than any fear they felt in the moment. Now think about your own life, my friend. Think about that time everything at work crashed down on you, when you felt like you couldn't take another week, when every day felt like torture and all you wanted was to run away. Do you remember how that felt? Do you remember thinking you were at your limit? And yet, you made it. You lasted 6 months, a year, 2, until eventually something changed, or you found the way to change it. Or think about that breakup that felt like a bottomless pit, when you thought you'd never recover, that you'd lost something too important, that your life would never be the same, and it hurt, in a way you didn't think you could survive, but you did, day by day, until one day it hurt less, and then eventually you couldn't even remember why it hurt so much. Or that health scare that stole your sleep for weeks, that anxious wait for results, that constant fear that something was wrong, that feeling of not being in control of your own body, the anxiety that came with it, the helplessness, the fear, but it passed. One way or another, it passed. And here you are, breathing, living, feeling. These weren't just random events, they weren't just things that happened. They were victories, battles you won, proof that you can. And anxiety wants you to forget them. It wants you to believe you're starting from zero every time, that each new crisis is unlike anything you've ever faced. But that's not true. Seneca once wrote something that fits this perfectly. He said we should spend time remembering past difficulties, not to torture ourselves, but to realize we overcame them, to use that as strength when the next one comes. Because when your mind is anxious, it doesn't need more theory. It needs concrete evidence of your capacity. So how do you use your own story to eliminate anxiety and stay calm when you feel like you can't go on? First, write yourself a letter from your future self. Imagine you've already gotten through this, that you're on the other side, that you survived what now feels unbearable. And from that place, write to yourself. What would you say? Maybe something like, I know right now you feel lost. I know it feels like this time is different. I know anxiety is telling you that you can't. But I'm here in the future, writing to tell you, you could. You did. It was hard, but you made it, just like all the other times. And don't make this letter generic. Make it specific. Name your current fears. Name your strengths. Recall your past victories. Let it be real. Let it be yours. Let it be honest. Because when you read it during anxious moments, it needs to feel true. And the only way it will is if you write it from a place of truth. Second, make a list of 3 moments when you thought you couldn't, but you did. Be specific. Don't just write, I got through a tough time. Write, I got through those 6 months when my boss made life hell and I wanted to quit, but I held on until I found something better. Don't write, I survived a breakup. Write, I got through it when Maria left, and I couldn't sleep for 3 months feeling empty. But little by little I found myself again. Details matter, because when anxiety strikes, when it tries to convince you that you can't, you'll take out that list, you'll read it, and you'll remember in detail that you've been in dark places before, and you got out. That concrete evidence is stronger than any anxious thought. And third, every time you feel that knot in your chest, every time anxiety whispers, you can't, answer it with your story, not with theory, not with motivational quotes, with facts. I've been here before. I've felt this fear. I've thought I couldn't, and I did. I've survived worse storms. I've gotten back up from even harder falls. Marcus Aurelius wrote something else you need to hear. Whatever you find unbearable, you've forgotten that you've already endured it. The issue isn't that this is your first fall. It's that you're forgetting how many times you've gotten back up. And this time, you'll rise faster. Because you've done it before. Because now you know how. Because your story already proves you can. And here's something important. This isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's not about denying your pain. It's not about minimizing what you're feeling. It's the opposite. It's seeing the full picture. Yes, this is hard. Yes, it hurts. Yes, anxiety is real. But so is your strength. So are your past victories. So is your history of resilience. Epictetus used to remind his students, when you face something frightening, remember, you've faced fear before. That fear isn't new. That the feeling of not being able to go on isn't new, and that every time you felt that and moved forward anyway, you built character. You built proof of your strength. And you've got armor. Armor built from all the times you thought you couldn't, and you did. From all the times you felt it was too much, and you endured. From all the times anxiety told you to quit, and you kept going. That armor is your experience, your story, your evidence. So next time anxiety tries to convince you that you're not strong enough, that this is too much, that this time you won't make it, pause, breathe, and remember. Remember that time you thought the same, and you made it. Remember that battle you won without knowing how. Remember that storm you crossed thinking it would destroy you, because you're not starting over. You're a stronger, more conscious, more prepared version of yourself. Even if you feel fragile today, you're more resilient than you were years ago. You just don't remind yourself often enough. Start doing it, not with arrogance, not with ego, but with truth. The truth of someone who's walked through storms and didn't break. That truth can be your anchor when everything inside feels like it's sinking. Lesson 12. Who do you spend time with when you need peace? Think carefully. When you're tired, when you feel like you can't take anymore, when anxiety is eating you up inside, who do you call? Who do you spend your time with? Who's there when you let your guard down? Because those people, those voices, those energies you allow close when you're vulnerable, have more power over your mental state than you think. Now ask yourself something even more uncomfortable. Do those people give you peace or do they take it away? Do you walk away from a conversation with them feeling lighter or heavier? Do they help you stay calm or do they feed your anxiety? Because if you're working every day to eliminate anxiety, but you surround yourself with people who live in constant drama, you're trying to fill a glass that has holes in the bottom. It's not that you're weak. It's not that you can't handle it. It's that some people are like walking storms, a never-ending series of catastrophes, a soap opera you didn't ask for, but they still drop on your lap. They text you in a panic because the neighbor got in the elevator, because the waitress took 5 minutes, because their fingernail hurts and it's probably something serious. And you, who just wanted 5 minutes of peace, end up with your anxiety through the roof. Seneca made it clear over 2,000 years ago. Avoid those who complain endlessly because their misery is contagious. And if he lived today, I bet he'd add, also avoid the WhatsApp groups where drama and passive-aggressive comments take over at 9 in the morning. Because a Stoic isn't someone who puts up with everyone in silence. It's not someone who constantly sacrifices their inner peace to maintain peace on the outside. It's someone who chooses very carefully who they share their energy with. And this isn't selfishness, it's not being a bad friend. It's not abandoning people. It's understanding something basic. Your energy is limited. Your ability to manage other people's emotions has a limit. And if you spend it all on people who drain you, who dramatize everything, who turn every little thing into a crisis, you're not going to have anything left for yourself, and even less for the people who really matter to you, the ones who take care of you the same way you care for them. Nedra Glover Tawwab, a therapist and author of the book Set Boundaries, has worked with hundreds of people dealing with chronic anxiety. And she discovered something fascinating. Many of them weren't anxious because of their own problems. They had borrowed anxiety. Anxiety they picked up from the people they spent time with. Because when you're constantly around people who live in drama mode, your body reacts as if you were inside the conflict, even if you don't say a single word. Your cortisol spikes, your defense system kicks in, your mind goes into alert, and the result is anxiety that you can't trace, because it's not yours. You caught it. Like an emotional virus passed on without realizing. And the worst part is, the other person doesn't even know they're doing it. Because for them, this is normal. It's how they relate to others. It's how they move through the world. Now imagine this. You go to your family's house after weeks of not seeing them. You plan to have a quiet afternoon, watch a movie, eat something nice, reconnect, but there they are. That one person, the one who turns everything into a problem. The traffic was insane, the food isn't the way it should be. The neighbor did something again. The economy's collapsing, everything's getting worse. Nothing has a solution, and you nod. You try to be understanding. You try not to argue, but with each complaint, with every exaggeration, you feel your body tighten. Your shoulders tense up, your jaw clenches. That peace you brought with you starts to fade, and you leave with a headache, with a stiff body wanting to disappear. And it wasn't what you did, it was who you did it with. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this in his Meditations. He said we have to be aware of who we surround ourselves with. That the people we spend time with influence us deeply. Their values, their attitudes, the way they see the world, all rub off on us even if we don't want them to. and that if we want to protect our inner peace, we have to be very selective about who we let into our mental and emotional space. He wasn't saying we should be antisocial. He wasn't telling us to isolate from the world. He was saying something much deeper. Your mental peace is your responsibility. And part of that responsibility is protecting it from the people who constantly damage it, even if they don't mean to. So how do you do this without feeling guilty? How do you protect your peace without turning into someone who abandons others? Let's do something. A brutally honest social scan. Grab a piece of paper. Write down the names of the people you spend the most time with. And next to each one, ask yourself with full honesty, does this person give me energy or drain it? Do I feel peace or anxiety after a conversation with them? Do they help me become better or do they drag me down? It doesn't matter if it's family, if it's your partner, your gym friends, or your childhood friends. No one has the right to mess with your peace like your head is an emotional theme park, especially if you're actively working to eliminate anxiety from your life. Seneca said we should spend time with people who make us better, who lift us up, who inspire us, and we should walk away from those who pull us down, not out of cruelty, out of survival. Because if you don't protect your inner garden, the weeds will take over. Second, set boundaries with kindness but with firmness. You don't need to be aggressive. You don't need to make a scene. You can just say things like, I can't talk about that right now. Let's save that for another time. Let's change the subject. Simple phrases, direct, respectful, but clear. And yes, at first they'll be surprised. They'll try to push back. They'll think you're being weird. But if you keep that boundary consistently, they'll either end up respecting it or they won't. And if they don't, that tells you everything you need to know about the relationship. Epictetus taught his students that they couldn't control how others reacted to their limits. They could only control whether they kept those limits or not, and that holding your boundaries, even if others get upset, is an act of self-respect, not selfishness, self-respect. And third, surround yourself with people who are like vitamins, people who, when you finish talking to them, make your chest feel lighter, not heavier, who don't fill your mind with noise, but with calm, who listen without judgment, who support you without drama, who are there for you without turning your pain into their pain. These people exist. Maybe not many. Maybe they're not the most obvious. Maybe they're not the ones who've always been around. But they're out there, and you need to grow those relationships, invest time and energy in them, because those are the people who are going to help you stay grounded when things get messy, not the ones who throw more fuel on your anxiety. And here comes something that might be hard to accept. Sometimes the most toxic person in your life is someone you love, someone important, someone who's been there for a long time. And that makes it harder to set boundaries because you feel like you owe them something, like you can't pull away, like you'd be betraying them. But let me tell you something, my friend. You can't hold someone else up if you're sinking. You can't give what you don't have. And if being around that person is destroying you, if every interaction leaves you more anxious, more exhausted, more empty, you're not helping them. And you're definitely not helping yourself. Setting boundaries isn't abandonment. It's self-care. It's recognizing that you have a limit. It's understanding that to show up for others, you first have to be okay yourself. And sometimes that means stepping back, reducing contact, changing how the relationship works. And yes, it'll be uncomfortable. It'll hurt. There'll be tough conversations. Some relationships might even end. But ask yourself this: what's the price you're paying to keep those relationships the way they are? How much peace are you giving up? How much anxiety are you carrying? And is it worth it? Because in the end, your mental health isn't up for negotiation. Your inner peace should never be the price you pay to keep others happy. And if someone makes you choose between your well-being and their comfort, that person isn't taking care of you. They're using your kindness against you. So think about this. What if part of your anxiety isn't coming from you, but from the people you share your silences with? What if eliminating anxiety isn't just about what you do, but also about who you do it with. What if staying calm means having the courage to say, "I'm not in the mood for drama today, thanks," because you've made it this far? And that already says a lot about you. Not everyone dares to look themselves in the eye and start letting go of what weighs them down. But if you still feel a knot in your chest, if something still feels tight, that's okay. It's normal. Because the journey to eliminate anxiety isn't straight, it's not perfect. But every step you take toward protecting your peace, toward choosing calm instead of chaos, is a step toward the version of you that you deserve to become. And that version is worth every boundary you need to set. Calm isn't a gift that shows up when life finally gets easy. It's something you build. When you stop fighting everything, when you breathe more deeply, think more clearly, and choose carefully where your energy goes. It's not about waiting for anxiety to disappear so you can start living. It's about learning how to hold yourself steady, even when it shows up. If you've made it this far, write this in the comments. Today I choose to live with more calm. They say those who stay until the end always find their reward. And you just did. So I invite you to subscribe, like, and share this video with someone who might need it. Click now on the videos you see on screen, because the journey is just beginning.